Hey everyone, Mimi with FND here. I actually wanted to get on here and share with you a book that a friend's sister has showed me, and her sister works in the medical field and has a nursing degree and is a therapist, and she's very successful at what she does, and she wants to get me started on neurofeedback therapy to see if we can't beat this FND thing. But in the meantime, she wanted me to request, for some lab work from my doctor, and also get this book. So I wanted to show you this book. This is called Toxic: Heal Your Body from Mold Toxicity, Lyme Disease, Multiple Chemical Sensitivities, and a Chronic Environmental Illness. And this is written by Neil Nathan, MD. I've read the first chapter so far. I am astounded and amazed, and I think this is something that everyone with FND should get, especially if they're having some comorbidities and there's been some other issues going on for a long time prior to their FND diagnosis. But what I'd like to do is go through this and share with you any way that little at a time. I think I'll read a chapter at a time for you to see if you're even interested in getting the book for yourself. If not, you can listen and see if maybe this fits some of the symptoms that you may be experiencing. Plus, by me reading, it will help my speech. But I just think that was actually rather shocking, and if I enjoy this so far, because this doctor sounds amazing. I would love to be able to see him, but he started off, and it tells us that. So I just want you to listen to this. It says, "Why would anyone want to read this book? I specialize in diagnosing and treating patients who find that few practitioners know what to do with them. This field of medicine has no name as yet. I have been calling it complex medical problem solving for some time. I didn't start out in this field. In fact, this field did not really exist until recently. I started out as a small town family physician, delivering babies, working in the ER, and doing a little surgery after completing my work with the Indian Health Service in 1974. If you want to do the math, since completing my internship at San Francisco General Hospital in 1971, I have been in practice for 47 years. Early on in my career, for some inexplicable reason, I became interested in those patients who didn't have a clear diagnosis or weren't improving with conventional approaches. My lifelong fascination with what are now called outliers, which is me, led me to study a wide variety of medical and healing traditions, always looking for answers for these more complicated patients. I detailed that journey in my first two books, if you are interested." So he has written two other books prior to this book, and I probably will check those out as well, but I want you to continue to hear this. However, since I wrote On Hope and Healing in 2007, there has been an unfortunate epidemic that has rendered patients even sicker than the ones I describe in that book. Not only are they more compromised in every way, they have even more fatigue, pain, cognitive dysfunction, anxiety, depression, and unusual and hard to describe symptoms. But these patients have become, over time, exquisitely sensitive to their environments and simultaneously to the medications, supplements, and other treatments that helped so many of my patients in the past. This hypersensitivity has made treatment, which is already complicated and difficult, even more challenging. It has necessitated that we find new ways to understand and contend with this emerging wave of compromised patients. We have discovered that for most of these patients, toxins, most commonly mold, and infections, most commonly Lyme disease with its co-infections, are the major causes. I will discuss these causes in detail in part 2. How many people are we talking about here? You might think that what I'm describing does not apply to too many folks, but in August 2013, the U.S. Centers for Disease Control announced that there is indeed an epidemic of Lyme disease in this country. To wit, more than 300,000 new cases a year. To put this number in perspective, about 40,000 new cases of HIV are discovered annually. So, what he's saying is, Lyme disease is getting 300,000 new cases a year, where what we would think HIV was, a rise, and we're familiar with it, whatever. It's only 40,000 compared to 300,000. In addition to that large group of individuals, the prevalence of multiple chemical sensitivities, or MCS, is noted in recent research to be 3.2% of the population, which may include as many as 10 million people. So it's not rare at all. Why might you not know about it yet? Because the unfortunate individuals who are suffering from these symptoms have learned the hard way. This part reminds me of those suffering from the FND diagnosis that in my support group that we all talk about, and this really sounds just like things that we have said or complained about, is the unfortunate individuals who are suffering from these symptoms have learned the hard way not to tell too many of their family members or friends about their symptoms because of the response they get. I myself was like that before I even developed FND, through my chronic pain and my poor immune system that made me chronically sick all the time. Sinus infection, pharyngitis, laryngitis, like constant illnesses. And as a former teacher, you know that you're exposed to all sorts of germs and whatnot. It's around the little ones. So I was always sick when I was working. And the chronic pain and the chronic fatigue was diagnosed as fibromyalgia in 2009. And because no one can see the pain that I have or see anything physical, they don't understand. So I just eventually just stop complaining about my symptoms because it just wasn't being heard or understood. Now he goes on and says, now let me get this straight, honey. You are tired all the time. His is like a quote. He's saying, now let me get this straight, honey. You are tired all the time, can't read or see well, and can't focus or concentrate or think sometimes. You have a headache, joint and muscle pain, anxiety and depression, ringing in your ears, odd electrical and vibration sensation going up and down your spine, nausea and diarrhea, and numbness and tingling in your chin, and you are sensitive to just about anything your doctor wants to give you. Do I have that right, dear? But you look okay to me. That was me prior to FND. Of course, I don't look or sound the same to my family as I did prior to FND, but what I had before, all the chronic ailments and issues I had prior to FND may just have taken its toll on my body. And finally, it just, my brain went, no more. No more. This is defense mechanism to kick in to protect your body from anything else. But so what he's saying in the first chapter basically is about not only do our family not hear us or understand us, but neither do the doctors. And he says this: the implication from family, friends, and worst of all, physicians and other healthcare providers is, really? Translation: it's all in your head. We've been told this so much it's not even funny. So please do not be surprised if someone who suffers from all this is reluctant to talk about it. From years of experience, he or she has learned that the conversation rarely goes well. To understand my perspective, it is important for you to realize that I have an unusual medical practice. My patient examples, my information, and my bias come from working with this uniquely ill group of individuals. While I believe that this information is of some general value, please keep in mind that I am writing primarily for these unusually sensitive and toxic patients and their healthcare providers. I hope that you will not take this information out of context unless you or a loved one or friend fits this model. So basically, he's just saying, not this model for this book does not necessarily fit everybody, but for me, it's definitely worth a shot to check into. And but I did want to let you know that based on my friend's advice and asking, she gave me a list of blood work to have done, and one of them was mold toxicity, and there was some other ones, and I forwarded this on to my doctor and asked him to tack these on to my labs, and then 2 days later he calls me in the evening and he yells at me. He's yelling. He yells at me saying he has no reason. There's no reason to order it, so then insurance won't pay for it. I said, I have plenty reason to order it. And what I was telling him basically was all this, that I have the same symptoms of mold toxicity. FND replicates that. And he just wasn't, he says, I don't have time. He tells me, I don't have the time to sit and do research to find the reason. I stay here at work till 9 at night, and I just don't have the time to be doing that kind of stuff. And so I was off the phone and I was just floored at his, I'm sorry, I'm just having a kind of itchy allergy day, I think. I was floored at his response, at his gruffness, at him yelling at me, at his unwillingness to at least try. If I'm bringing the information to him, I would think that alleviates the extra work he would have to do to dig into looking into this. But I think what I'm going to end up doing is probably switching doctors. He's my PCP, but I'm switching doctors because my mom told me earlier that week she goes to him, and she complained earlier in the week that he was snapping at her, and that she went in for three particular things and said she was so uncomfortable with his attitude and his snippiness that she decided to only address the top two issues and left the other one be. And I'm like, at first I was I'm a patient person, and I kind of said, well, maybe he's being overworked, or we're trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. But he was pretty nasty with me too in the same week. So I'm like, this isn't right. If he's been like this is just not right. And I get it that a lot of doctors, they don't have the time, or they don't know much about this. When they don't know much about a symptom or type of disorder, sometimes it frustrates them because they went to med school to be a doctor to help heal. And when they've encountered a disorder like this and they're not able to heal, it frustrates them, and I think they end up doing the hands up in the air. I give up. I don't know what else to do other than treat symptoms, and that's where I'm at with this. So what I'm hoping to do is find a PCP, a younger one, that is willing to check into a little bit more, and I'm going to definitely take this book with me. But I will cut the video short now, and I just wanted to, I do want to come back to this, and I'm going to read one of these examples that he's put in the book. It's called Karen's Story. It's the first example of a patient he had. All the names and patients are in there, all are protected and changed names. He's changed the names for their protection and their privacy. But he got their permission to write a book about their actually case and their situation and what it took for them to get diagnosed with, and treatments and cares. And what's interesting is that apparently the sensitivities is a big issue, because there's so many people with environmental and chemical insensitivities. So taking certain medications just don't work. And I am one of these kind of people, because when I was put on Lyrica for my fibromyalgia, it gave me the worst migraines ever and made me so sick to my stomach. I went down a list of things that they could give me to help try to maintain my fibromyalgia pain, and none of them worked. I had severe side effects and reactions, to the point where my doctors just said, let's put this down as an allergy to this medication, because it's obviously not going to work for you. And what's really interesting, when I get into it later about that, this doctor talks about what happens when someone has that and what you can do for that. So I want to share that. Wanted to share that with you, and those of you that have FND, it does not hurt to check into other possibilities. And what he's saying in this book is other comorbidities, if those are addressed and fixed, we have a better success at chance possibly of healing all around everything with all FND symptoms and whatnot. And I'm glad that there's a doctor out there like this that cares enough about patients to go the extra mile to dig further for what came first, the chicken or the egg, and to, when they encounter a drug sensitivity or a treatment sensitivity, even if it's supplements, to, if they know that that's a particular treatment that works for a particular diagnosis, what he has done in there from chapter 1, what I read, is he will give in teeny tiny dose and slowly increase. You'll hear this in this story about Karen, about what he does. But it took her a couple years to actually finally get to herself again through his slow method of fixing her issues. But it's really interesting, and I wanted to share that, and I will be back with another one hopefully tomorrow. Take care, everybody. God bless. Oh, if you like and subscribe, please. I'm trying to promote more awareness for FND and do as much as I can to help others with FND by providing resources and sharing any information that I encounter, or even showing my own personal symptoms and letting you know you're not alone, and you need to understand you're not alone, and we will fight the fight and do what it takes till we finally get our answers and get treatment. And I know there's some people out there that's had this 20, 30, 40 years, and some that have just recently been diagnosed. I'm going to try to help advocate for all of us, no matter how long we have had the FND diagnosis. Again, subscribe, hit the subscribe button below, and God bless. Love you. Bye.